Shalom and welcome. In the English language, there is but one term for the Jewish people, and that is, you guessed it, the Jewish people. But in Hebrew, in the Torah, there are multiple terms for the Jewish people. One of them we encounter this week for the first time in the Torah portion of Bo, which we read this Shabbat, which records the exodus of the Jewish people. Says the Torah, on that day, the Tzivot Hashem, the army of God, left the land of Egypt. Here the Jewish people are being referred to for the first time as God's army. By implication then, to be a Jew means to be a warrior for God, to make the world a more godly place, which as history has borne out, has often meant fighting against the forces of darkness and evil. And in a battle, there are two possibilities. One is where you must fight to destroy, obliterate, vanquish, eviscerate the enemy. And in many of those battles that we have engaged over history, we've had to fight against dark forces and attempt to destroy them, whether it was the Maccabees leading a revolt against the Syrian Greeks, or it was the resistance fighters in World War II. But there's another possibility in warfare, in which the objective is not the destruction of the enemy, but to win the enemy over, to see the enemy essentially as an ally in the making. And that was a historical shift that occurred after World War II, and with the advent of the Rebbe's leadership, which we will be commemorating this Shabbat, Yud Shvat, the 10th of Shvat, when the Rebbe formally acknowledged and accepted the mantle of leadership of Chabad and effectively of world Jewry. On that night he declared, the world is God's garden, the world is inherently a beautiful place. We don't need to be slaying the dragons of evil. We need to fight with light. We need to simply suffuse God's garden with beautiful and godly light. And the Rebbe embarked on that night on a mission to transform the world, to bring out its latent beauty by creating centers of light all over the world, and by calling upon every single individual to be an agent of light, to feel the responsibility to shed light in our own personal corners of the world, in our spheres of influence. No one is exempt. We are all, as God said to Adam and Eve, we are all gardeners in God's garden, here to make sure that the garden is as beautiful, as luminescent, as pleasurable a place as it possibly can be. I'd like to now invite you to join me for a song from my album Storm the World, entitled The Garden, which I wrote and recorded together with Benzi Marcus. And it's a song that presents the message of the Rebbe that night in 1951, and how with his leadership began the 7th generation of the dynasty of Chabad leadership. And all 7th leaders and generationally have been called upon by history to consummate and to complete that which was undertaken by their predecessors. History has called upon us, said the Rebbe, to cross the finish line of exile, to consummate and to complete what was undertaken by those who came before us, which was to suffuse the world with godly light and enlightenment. And our sacred task and mission are to be agents of light and bring the world to that time when it will be an enlightened place, a mature place, and therefore a peaceful place, a place of coexistence, of mutual respect, because we will see the divine light in all things and in all people.
Way back when I my story does begin. The opening chapter tells of sin, his beautiful garden paradise, tarnished perfection undone, a universal disconnect of where it all came from. Abraham burst on the scene, made the Creator known. Moses was the chosen one to bring his presence home.
I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. All along you were my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden. All along you were my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden, my garden of delight.
That was then, and things were going right, but his temple fell, and sin had caused its plight. The garden's light seemed forever gone, desolate and dark, and people wandered near and far, searching for a little spark. Baal Shem Tov came and showed us all to serve Hashem with joy, and remember that the garden is the place he most enjoys.
I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. All along you were my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden. All along you were my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden, my garden of delight.
Now the world stands ready, the work is almost done, to bring his presence back forever. Let the garden's light shine strong. The Sandman brought us to the end. Now to finish it all, on us it does depend.
I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made it for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. All along you are my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden, my garden.
I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. All along you are my song, my love, joy and pride in my garden, in my garden. I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know. I've come to my garden, it started in Eden so long ago. This world I made for you, my light it shines through you for all to know.
Thank you for joining us, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chabad East Boca. Wishing you Shabbat Shalom.